My head is a mess. I have too many tasks and too little time to do them. So I went looking for a way to be more productive. A system that would help me achieve all my goals and dreams, but that would also allow for the daily mundane things to get done. And here's what I learned. The amount of information that's out there is as much of a jumbled mess as my own brain is right now. I fought through it, I read it all, so that you don't have to. There is two parts to a productivity system that often doesn't get talked about online. It all gets thrown into one big jumbled mess, but there's actually two different parts. You have how you manage your time and how you manage your tasks. How you manage your time will highly depend on how you work best. Can you concentrate for long periods of time, or do you need more breaks in between, for example? How you manage your tasks highly depends on how much structure you want and need, how many tasks you have to balance, and how large those tasks are. Because some systems lean themselves better to really large projects, while others lean better to smaller to-dos on an everyday basis. There are probably endless methods for all of these things. I actually picked and chose the ones that I thought were most common, but also most straightforward, because there are some really complex systems out there that I don't know who has the brain capacity to use them, but it's never a copy paste. You have to fine tune a system a little bit to work best for you, but I have some general lines of these systems here, so you can at least use them as a base and then build upon them when you start developing your own system, if that makes sense. The time management systems that I want to talk about today are time blocking, time boxing, Pomodoro technique, and deep work. Time blocking. Time blocking is the idea that you batch similar tasks together instead of doing them all scattered throughout the day, and actually creating blocks in your calendar when you are going to be doing similar tasks or working on similar projects. So your calendar can go from a jumbled up mess to something that looks a lot more straightforward, and you really have large chunks of time to focus on certain things. Time boxing it looks similar to time blocking, but the intent behind it is different. So while time blocking is just making sure that you work on similar tasks at a time and really putting time aside in your calendar, time boxing puts the emphasis on only doing a task for this certain amount of time that you have assigned to it. Say you want to clean your room, but you don't want to be spending the whole day on it. Then you assign an hour or half an hour to cleaning your room, and if your time is up, you stop doing it, no matter if you have completed the task or not. And this allows to make sure that you don't spend too much time on one thing and not enough time on another, and that your attention really goes to where you want it to go. But this doesn't work for everyone. I like the idea of the task, but you often end up with a lot of unfinished tasks and loose ends that need tying up. And for some people, that might be really stressful. Time boxing takes a bit of getting to know yourself and to really start to figure out how long it actually takes you to do certain things, so you don't always have to cut off your work when you actually start getting in the flow. Talking about flow, that brings us to deep work. With deep work, you will work on a task for a longer period of time, and that will allow you to reach a flow state, a state where you really get in the zone and everything goes easy. You're really concentrated on your work, and before you know it, hours have flown by. If you have experienced flow state, you know what I'm talking about. Flow state can be really great for larger projects and larger tasks, and deep work really can be beneficial in those areas. So make sure that you have no distractions around. You get behind your desk and you just start going. It takes around 30 minutes to get into your deep work flow state mood, and you can keep going for about 4 hours, and after that your concentration starts to evaporate. Pomodoro, on the other hand, is great for people who have Pomodoro, on the other hand, is great for people who struggle with focusing for long periods of time. The idea is that you have Pomodoros of 25 minutes and then you take a 5-minute break. And you do that 4 times and then you take a 15-minute break. It is a great system if you have a lot of smaller tasks to do, or if you find that with larger projects you can't concentrate for hours on end. Then just concentrating for 25 minutes and then allowing all the distractions in and then focusing again can be a really powerful method, especially for people with ADHD, for example. It tends to work really, really well. And when you know how to manage your time, it's time to move on to how you manage your tasks. I have 6 different task management systems here for you, and the first one being just the simple to-do list. I love a good to-do list. I really, really do. I make one at the beginning of my workday, but I make one. It is made for me automatically in Notion, but sometimes I even make it on a paper when there's tasks that need to be divided up into subtasks. A simple to-do list is really, really great because it allows you to just keep an overview of the daily tasks and you just start doing what you feel like. And by the end of the day, if you have scrapped it all off, it's a really satisfying feeling. It's not complicated. It's super easy to start doing. However, the downside to just a simple to-do list is that it's really hard to track larger projects. It's really hard to keep an overview on your goals and dreams, for example. It's really hard to reverse engineer the things that you want to make happen. And it keeps you in a working from day to day mindset, which often hinders living more intentional, getting things done. Getting things done was developed by David Allen, and it is one of the most used methods in productivity land. And with good reason. I mean, it is a really, really good system without getting too complicated. In its essence, it's not super complicated. You can make it really complicated, and that is where the downfall is of the system. But in its essence, it's not complicated at all. It is a 5-step process that focuses on the idea that your brain is for having ideas, not for storing them. Because if we try to store information in our brain, we often forget about it. You probably already thought once in your life, like, I need to call this person. You didn't write it down. 2 days later, you realized you never did. That is what getting things done tries to eliminate. It does that with a 5-step process: capture, processing, organize, review, and action. It all starts with capture. With capture, you are going to make a space on your phone in a notepad, but on your computer, where you dump everything that comes to mind, every idea, every reminder, every task, any email with a thing that you need to follow up on. It's all going into the catch place. You need to make sure that your catch place is a place that you can trust, where you know you will go and look at it. Only then can it free up space in your mind. Then on a regular basis, you will process all of those tasks that are in your catch inbox. Going to sift through your ideas on a regular basis. The actionable ones get planned in, and the non-actionable ones, like ideas and reminders, go into a folder where you can reference them later. Then it's time to organize those actionable to-dos. By categorizing them, it gets a whole lot easier to take action on them. So think about categories like context. Where do you do these things? Office jobs should be in the category office. Assign the date to them. When do they need to be done? What project do they belong to? Don't overcomplicate this. The downfall of the system is in the organized category. It is by assigning too many tags to a task. When you start organizing them by place, context, date, energy level, the mood you need to be in, the outfit you need to wear, like, it goes too far and it will stop you from using the planning system, and then it just crumbles like a house of cards. And then we have review. The next step, 4th step, review. On a regular basis, go over your action list and clean it up and plan it in. This is, for example, a weekly planning routine, monthly planning routine, whatever you want. And then it's time to take action. With the Getting Things Done system, I feel like it focuses on categorizing and on the planning part a lot. And there's not a lot said about the doing part and the taking action part. It's only the fifth step, there's not much said about it. And that is where the next system, the Zen to Done, does a little better, in my opinion. So the Zen to Done method is built off getting things done, and the catch and organize and review principles are still the same, but there's also a layer of development and mental health and personal goals involved in this. You will decide each week on your big rocks that you have to focus on that week, like the biggest things that are most important, and then every single day you will choose your 3 most important to-dos, the 3 things that you absolutely have to complete that day. Anything else, additional. But by focusing always on those big things, the most important things, and to really mindfully choose what is most important to me right now, instead of just working through your to-do list, it's a lot easier to keep track of the things you want to achieve and the goals you want to accomplish, because you can prioritize them over other things. And then we have the Kanban method. The Kanban method uses cards, and those cards represent tasks and they move from one status to another. Toggle is a good example for this, but you can also create boards in Notion, for example, where you have categories like to start, in progress, in review, and completed. And then you just drag the cards from one place to another. So once you start working on a task, it goes to in progress, and then in review, and then completed at the end. This works really well if you don't have a lot of tasks, but once you have a lot of things, and if you want to keep track of all the small things that you need to do, it becomes a lot harder to use a Kanban system, which is why I don't personally like it. But if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of things to do, it might actually be a great system for you. Another really simple system is the daily trifecta. The daily trifecta is basically that at the end of every day, you create a to-do list, as in a follow-up list for the things that you will have to do tomorrow. So this works really well if you're working projects, for example. Then you close your day off by preparing for the next day. So it's a whole lot easier to pick up where you left off the day before. Again, this system, in my opinion, doesn't really work if you want to keep an overview and you really want to prioritize working on the goals and things that are most important to you. But it is still a great simple system if you don't want to overcomplicate things. And like I said before, you can combine these systems and take bits and pieces from everywhere to create a system that works best for you. There is no one holy grail. There is only a holy grail for you. There's only a system that will work for you because you created it and it fits your needs. I hope that made sense and that you found the video helpful. If you did, you can give it a like, maybe even subscribe to the channel, because I would love to have you here. If you really enjoyed the content, I have similar type of content and videos that I will link in the description box, as well as my other social channels and my podcast. And with that, I hope to see you in the next video, and I will see you soon. Toodaloo!